Hi, nice to meet all of you. Thank you for being here. I am born and raised Texan from Dallas, spent most of my adulthood, though, living in New York and in Los Angeles. And my background is an actress and singer. So I paid my bills on the stage, doing musical theater in New York and national tours and things like that. And so that is my primary background. Moved back to Dallas about 8 years ago to be closer to family, and was still performing and doing things here and in New York. And then in 2016, an opportunity was presented to me about a story of the first transgender police officer in Arlington, Texas. And that film is actually still in production, believe it or not. But when I heard about that story, I really felt like I wanted to tell it. And so I started my own production company, Wow Films, and that is how I ended up behind the camera as opposed to in front of it most of the time. And since I started my company, we have done 6 films, and it's been very exciting. And one of the most successful films I did was thanks to BART, so that's why I'm so glad to be back at Dallas Video Fest. I did a documentary in 2019 called Shatter the Silence, which was about the Me Too movement. It was inspired by, the big national reckoning that was happening for women at the time. And what I wanted to know was what my local community of Dallas was doing about it. Were the schools talking about it, and the churches talking about it, and our community, and at the local and state level of the government. And I found out some really, really interesting things and some really hopeful things. And so the documentary did really, really well on the film festival circuit. And then BART, I was so excited. I was able to partner with BART, and he chose the film to be in Frame of Mind on PBS, which was a huge honor and was sort of the goal of mine for the film. So he really helped me reach that. And then we were very excited because, and then the film got nominated for a regional Emmy. And so we were very, very proud of that. So, and now I'm back with Pieces of Us, and it's such an honor to be considered the opening night film, especially the last festival, for Dallas Video Fest. And so it's bittersweet, but I'm so happy to be here and have that. Pieces of Us fell into my lap because, and interestingly enough, the other films I have done, those are my films. Those are a Wow Films entity. This film, my production company was actually hired to produce and then for me to direct this film. I knew a gentleman named Mykel, and that's M-Y-K-E-L. New Yorkers have these weird names sometimes. My friend, he's an actor, so he doesn't go by Michael, he's Mykel. So anyway, Dicus is his last name, D-I-C-U-S. And I met him back probably in the early 90s. He was a fellow performer, and just very casually, had fallen out of touch with him, didn't know him very well. He found me a couple of years ago and brought Pieces of Us to my plate because he is a hate crime survivor. And he was telling me his story and what he has done in his recovery, and how he has met and partnered with other hate crime survivors to really form this beautiful community of support to not only help them heal, but to help other people as well. So when I heard about that, I was absolutely, I believe in activism through art. So it definitely fell in my wheelhouse. I am an out and proud gay woman, and so I was like, well, this is my community, and I want to tell this story. I thought it was interesting from other documentaries or films I've seen on hate crimes, because a lot of times they'll focus on the statistics and the actual assault itself. And then they might follow, the sort of the criminal process, and the justice of what happened from that hate crime. But this film, while obviously our subjects, talk very intimately about what happened to them, that's not the focus of the film. The focus of the film is what happened afterwards and the process of their healing and how they made the brave and conscious choice to not be defined by it and to say, I am not a hate crime, I'm not a victim, I am a survivor. And then they took that and, like I said, reached out to other survivors and formed this beautiful community that is doing such amazing work and helping other people. So we started filming in June of, let me see, everything gets blurred because of 2020. We started filming in the summer of 2019. And we filmed in New York City, India, and Denver, Colorado. And we also filmed at World Pride, which was occurring in New York City in June. And it was the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall Riots. And what I thought was so interesting about that was, here we are 50 years later, and we're still fighting for a lot of equality, and we're addressing really sensitive subjects that were going on back then. And I was really grateful to have an amazing trans woman named Victoria Cruz came on board in the film. And she is very well known in our community and just really an icon. She is a Stonewall survivor, one of the very last ones still living. And she talks about being at Stonewall, talks about the life back then, and she even says on film, which I thought was really interesting, she said, I felt safer back then, 50 years ago, than I do today. And I felt like, wow, that one statement made me realize how important it was to tell this story, because the image of, the reason we chose Pieces of Us is that each subject, a person in the film, who talks about what happened to them, and they're all interconnected. You start seeing it when you watch the film. They're all interconnected, working together. It doesn't matter whether you're a member of the LGBTQ plus community or what. We can all see a piece of ourselves in the film and the plight of other people. And I think that's how healing begins and conversation begins. And because there's also a bullying theme. Many of these people were bullied horribly as children. And when we went to Denver, it was because, and you may have heard about this on the news, but there was a 9-year-old boy named Jamel Miles, and it made national news, who committed suicide at the age of 9. And he hung himself in his closet. And he told his mother a few days before that he was gay. And she was like, that's okay, I love you. You're cool, you're my son, we're good. He was so excited to start school and go tell his friends. And they bullied him severely. And one girl even told him to kill him, that he should kill himself. And he didn't tell his mom, unfortunately. He told his older sister, who he said, don't say anything, because I guess he was embarrassed, and she didn't. And one day she picked him up from school and he was crying and said, they're picking on me really bad. And she said, I'll go up to the school tomorrow, we'll talk to the principal, but it was too late. And so he took his life that afternoon. And this mother was so brave to tell her story on film and open up her heart, because she was still going through, and right, of course, and even now, but massive grief. And what I thought was so beautiful was that Mikkel, who's sort of the central subject of the film, when he saw her story through the news, he knew that like the media is going to be all over it, everywhere. She was on the BBC, CNN, and then they're going to leave her, because then it's the next story. And he thought, what is she going to do then? And so he contacted her on Facebook. He didn't know her, and he just said, you have no reason to trust me. I am a hate crime survivor. I know what Jamel was going through. I care about you. I'm here for you if you need me. And she reached out to him, and then she had that community of support, and then was introduced to everybody. So it was, I just think that's a big example of why this type of film is so important.
Talk about meeting the Prince.
Yes.
How that happened.
So, well, through Mikkel again, like I said, it's all interconnected. Prince Manvendra Singh Gohil. And if you need me to spell that, I can. He is the only openly gay royal in the world. And when he came out to his family, they disowned him and they burned his effigies, and the town got together, and there were death threats and assaults, and he fought it, and they put him through shock therapy. He was a young man, and through a lot of trial and tribulation he went through. And finally he just said, look, you can disown me, I'll give up my title, this is who I am. And Oprah heard his story, and he was on the Oprah Winfrey show. And once he got on Oprah, he says she saved his life, because then his family was like, oh, you're on Oprah? Well, maybe we should get on board, so his father has accepted him now, but his mother has not. But what happened was Mikkel met the prince through a mutual friend when the prince was visiting New York, and they both started talking about being, hate crime survivors. It was in sort of different ways, but victims of that discrimination. And the prince was really there for Mikkel when he was going through his recovery. And so that is how the prince ended up coming into our story. And it's really amazing what he's doing in India. He has started, he lives in the country of Gujarat, and he started the first and only LGBTQ center there, where they take in a lot of youth that have been kicked out and abandoned by their families. And so there's educational resources for them and things like that. So he's been doing massive activism for the community in India. And so he came over for World Pride, and I was able to interview him in New York City, and he was on the parade route with us. And then we sent a crew to India to when Mikkel went, because they do a lot of work there with the Indian community, Indian gay, LGBTQ community, like a lot of therapy through what's called flagging. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, or if you've seen the film, you'll know what I'm talking about. But flagging is a beautiful dance art form, and it's those huge. It's not flagging like drill team flagging in high school. It's the huge flags. It's beautiful, and they just spin. And Mikkel has been taught it, and it started in the gay clubs. And it's one of those things that it's passed down through the community how to do. And the history of it is that during the AIDS crisis, the community in bars, they would take handkerchiefs and wave them, sometimes on the dance floor, in memory of ones they had lost from AIDS. And then there were other dancers that would sort of have fans and flags, and then it just turned into this beautiful art form of flagging with these huge, beautiful pieces of material. And Mikkel has used his talent with that to start these flagging classes where he helps people with their emotions who have been traumatized or victims of hate crimes to express themselves. Sometimes you can express yourself through movement, but not speaking. And he's done this all over the nation. He has done this throughout India in their community, working with the prince. And so it's been quite beautiful. And that's in the film as well, showing how he's taken something that's helped him with his recovery and paying it forward. So that's how the prince and his husband, Duke DeAndre, were in the film. That's how they came in. Yeah.
And now, what province or country? I know you said India, but
Yes, it's Gujarat. G-U...
Gujarati.
Yes.
Okay.
Gujarat. G-A-T? Yeah.
Okay.
Gujarat. And then, that's the area where he is. Isn't it G-U...
G-H, I thought it was G-H.
Or G-H-U, and then J-A-T, something? Gujarat.
I'll look it up.
I can look it up for you, but, yeah. I know. Of Hanumatishwar, that's like the town, Hanumatishwar. I got that right, I know. And then and Gujarat, I just don't know how to spell that. Yeah. So that's how the prince came in.
So did you think that you would go on this journey? I mean, you started out in one place and then you kind of went around the world and ended up in India.
Right. Never in my wildest dreams. I couldn't believe it. This, for me personally, as a director and a filmmaker now, this is the biggest film I have done as far as budget and just the depth of the film. We filmed for over a year, and then, obviously I was so close to it, so then the executive producer, who actually owns the film, he said, I want you to edit it. So the timing of it worked really well, because in 2020, when we were all locked down, I started editing the film. So I edited for about 6-7 months, and then we finished post-production at the end of 2020, start of 2021. So the timing was good, because if we would have been filmed, in the middle of it, it would have just been really hard to stop. In fact, we filmed our last interview, which was with Victoria Cruz, and I was on a beach with her in Brooklyn when the day before New York was shut down. In fact, we changed my flight to fly out early so I could get back to Dallas. Wow. Yeah, because the executive producer was like, I need you in Dallas to edit. You can't get stuck there. So, yeah.
So March of 2020 then.
Yes, I think it was like March 8th or something I was there, and it was really, I can't believe I was... thank God I was okay, because, I took some hand sanitizers and, washed my hands. I didn't have a mask, we didn't think about wearing a mask. And so, I rode the subway. I was just, all out and about. And it was just, I was very lucky, so I got scared. But yes, so the very last interview was right before the lockdown. So anyway, I took the opportunity to edit the film then at home, so at least, that was nice to have a purpose during that time.
Knowing that you had a lockdown situation, you had to edit the film, and there was really no way in the world to reshoot an interview or
No.
do any touch-up. So talk to me a little bit about that process and how that was, was it difficult, was it easy,
Well, you know what? I was pretty confident that we had everything. I was really hoping we were going to get Victoria Cruz. I knew how crucial she would be for the film if we could get her. And it took a while. She wasn't easy to get a hold of. She was just in a huge Netflix film, a documentary about Marsha P. Johnson, who's another Stonewall survivor and icon. And she was hard to get a hold of. But after I got her, it was just, I only had one day with her. So she was the main interview that I was scared, like, did I get everything I need? But, once I started going through it, I thought, yeah, I do. So I wasn't too nervous, no, about that. So I just started chipping away at it, doing the storyboard. And the hardest thing editing it was trying to figure out how to weave together the different pieces where it would flow nicely. And to show the interconnected storylines with these people and how to introduce them, because they all are, they're all interconnected. And so That was the hardest thing. I would just stare at the wall where I had the storyline and like, how am I going to do this? And I had drank a lot of wine. But then then it started. So I got the beginning and then I got the end. I knew I wanted to end up at World Pride because there wasn't really anywhere we were going to go after World Pride. That's the climax of the film. These amazing survivors on a float together. 50th, anniversary of Stonewall. Here we are. So then I just started, putting it together.
Now, I had a question about Victoria Cruz. I mean, and the ensemble she wore, it looked like kind of a Lakota suit.
Yes.
Is she or what?
No, you know what? She started wearing feathers in her head when in 2016 at that prepresidential election. Because she said she was always a warrior, but now she was going to show her feathers.
Okay.
All right, and that's what she did, and she wears them every single day. But she is quite amazing. But that's why she wears that, yeah. But I loved it when I saw her coming across that beach. I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, that's just going to be gorgeous, So.
It was the first time.
Yeah. Yeah, and that between and how her, well, you've seen the film obviously, but between her and Mikkel, she's connected because she was his therapist when he turned to the New York City Anti-Violence Project for help. So there was, that connection, and here she was, a Stonewall survivor, having, been the victim of hate crimes back then. So it was really beautiful. So when I got them together, at first we talked about just doing a, what I call the talking head interview, the formal interview with her. We have a lot of that in this film, as you see, because we have a lot of subjects, but we tried to really travel with them so we feel like we're with them on the journey, which I think we, did a pretty successful job with. But with her, I thought, I made the conscious directorial decision not to do that because I thought, once I met her, I was like, oh my gosh, I could just tell her my life story. She's that kind of woman, and she's comforting, and I thought, she's like a storyteller, right? And I thought she's like going to be the rock of this film, and I need her and Mikkel to just talk. And I prompted him on certain things, like for him to tell her about Leia's son and things, so I could have transitional moments. But I thought this is going to be like we're a fly on the wall, looking at two friends connecting or talking, and it almost felt like a therapy session the way he talked to her. And I just had one camera, and so it was difficult on that beach, because just the two of them. But then I zoomed and made some edits, which made it good.
The shaman aspect.
Yes, exactly. And I wanted it to look different than the other two. That's why throughout the film I keep coming back to her as transitional moments. Mikkel and her walking on the beach or talking, because she said these such wise things, and she was like our spiritual, stability of the film. She's so wise and so much experience.
But you definitely would like to change people's perspectives a little bit with this movie, though, right? Because it is a little different approach to making a movie about hate crimes. And,
right.
And hate crime survivors, as you say, to kind of take a more compassionate approach, not focus on the crime itself, but focus on the healing afterwards. So, you'd like to kind of use that to sort of change perspectives.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Because, the statistics are important, and they're overwhelming when you think about it. The FBI has reported that 1 in 5 hate crimes are the result of anti-LGBTQ plus bias. And that's a lot. And in 2019, over 200 bills were introduced that were anti-LGBTQ. So those statistics are important, but when you start to show a lot of that in the films, some people are like, okay, yeah, they get it, and it just sort of, they turn off. But in this, I thought really touching the heartstrings, because all all of us, I think, can relate. There's a piece of us in that. All of us can say, oh yeah, I was bullied. You don't have to be gay to be bullied. You could have experienced some type of discrimination or being bullied, or how many of us know a gay person in our life, in our family. It's very rare now to somebody say, like, I don't know one gay person. And so I think that sort of thing, to see them say, opening up their hearts and showing what they have done and the love that they have shown to turn hate into love, I think that touches people and can hopefully start conversations and opening that up. And like, I think even in the end of the film, our school teacher, or who's the school psychologist in the film, Gypsta, he says, look, at the end of the day, we all bleed red, right? So we don't have to totally understand each other, but we can be kind to each other and by what we say. And so I think that is important. And to give you an example of this, I was contacted by a festival director who we got into their festival, like, I submitted and we found out like the next day we were in. And I was like shocked. And they were nuts over the film. Well, he wrote me then and said, I want to share something with you. Our juror, who was screening the documentaries, was very moved by your film. His brother is the father of a young gay teenager, and he's having really hard time. He goes, I know I'm not supposed to do this. He goes, I called my brother over, and I said, I want you to watch this screener. Don't ask me about it. Don't comment. Just do me a favor. For 92 minutes, just watch this film and do with it what you want. He said after his brother watched it, he was crying, and he said, I've got work to do. And he went home to his son. He told him he loved him. He said, he didn't know what his son's experience was, but he was going to try to learn. And he said that film opened up his brother's heart. And that, and I shared that with our creative team and the cast, because I had never, ever received anything like that, especially from a film festival, And so I thought, wow, if it can happen there, then it can happen to hopefully all of the audiences that see it, or the future of the film. And I think that there's a good educational aspect to this. We hope to have an educational road for this film in schools, that sort of thing.
Well, we have about 5 minutes left. So why don't you talk about your festival journey, where this is going to be going, or has it already gone?
No, we have that this week, actually. So we've just started really our festival run, but we've gotten into John 10, I believe. Yes, 10 already, which we're so super excited about. So, and what's nice about it is that it's a combination of LGBTQ, specific film festivals, as well as mainstream festivals, which I'm really excited about. It's been doing really well in that, because, we don't want to just preach to the choir. And so this Thursday I leave for the Palm Springs LGBTQ Film Festival, and we're very excited about that. It's also the same weekend playing at Fargo LGBTQ Film Festival, which is a great, I thought, wow, up there, that they really need, they need to see this kind of film in North Dakota, and that's why they were very excited about it. Then we come back to Dallas, which super excited about, and we're going to have a lot, I hope some of y'all can come, we're going to have a lot of the cast in attendance and the executive producers coming, so it'll be very exciting. And then we screen on Thursday, and we get up for an early morning flight on Friday, and we go to Philly, and we're in the QFlix Philly LGBTQ Film Festival, which is one of the largest LGBTQ film festivals in the nation, and we screen on Saturday and then drive to Reading, Pennsylvania for the Reading Film Festival Sunday morning, and then go back for the awards. And then we haven't gotten to announce yet, but we're in the Newport Beach Film Festival, which we're really excited about. And I was excited because they're not having an LGBTQ category this year, so we got in under the documentary features, which I was super excited about. And then we got into Twin Cities in Minneapolis, and
Tallgrass.
Tall grass. Yeah, we just got into tall grass, which is very exciting. Melanie Addington, who I love, is the festival director there. And so I think that's 10 that I had. Oh no, the Bent. We got into another one up in Sacramento. So it's doing good. So we'll see, where it goes and the journey of the film.
And so again, it's playing Video Fest?
Yes, Video Fest on September 30th at 7 p.m. and we're having a red carpet 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. So, come out there if you want, and you can meet the cast, talk to them, and we're just really excited about it. It's just a real honor to be in the last Video Fest.
I know.
I know.
Is there
But
anything else that we haven't touched on?
But you know what? I'm already in the festival, so I don't have to kiss up to Bart. But I will tell you this, like I said, just starting this in 2016, as a filmmaker, I didn't know anybody, didn't know how to do this, didn't even know how to submit for festivals. And one of my very first short films, Bart programmed in Video Fest. It was Far From the Tree. It was a Texas film film that we shot here in East Texas. And, I just say as an indie filmmaker, I just want to thank Bart because, he has obviously supported so many filmmakers and given them a roadmap of how to do this. And I would not, even just a little bit of success that I've had would not have happened without you, Bart. And I just, want to take this moment to thank you.
That was an awesome short film.
It was fun. It was, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate all of y'all being here.